Council Rowland, position 1.
Here.
Council Randall, position 2.
Here.
Council Jones, position 3.
Here.
Council Williams, position 4. Council Barnett, position 5.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll now have the invocation. Reverend Barnett, you do us the honor?
Oh, you saw me walking up this way,
I
huh?
sure did.
Yeah, yeah.
I know invocation when I see one.
Please, if you want to stand, please. If you don't, that's fine. God doesn't matter, okay? He doesn't mind with that. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this gathering. We ask that you appease, and we ask that you place in the minds and the thoughts and the hearts those things that need to be for your people. For those people that we have been elected to serve, and we ask that you make us servant leaders, not just a leader, but servant leaders. We ask that you continue to bless our city, bless all those who've been affected by what your work is as it is. And Lord, we thank you, and we ask you this prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And now we have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, consider the approval of the meeting minutes of the special city council and regular meeting on September 25th, 2017. Councilman Jones.
I move that we consider the approval of the meeting minutes of the special city council meeting and regular meeting minutes on September 25th, 2017.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we consider the approval of the meeting minutes of the special city council and regular meeting on September 25th, 2017. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Ayes have it. Citizen comments. Councilman Herschel Smith.
I'm the first. Wow. First of all, I want to give all honor to the mayor, to the council members, to all the citizens that are present. And my biggest concern has been our inconsistency with water bills. You know, I don't have no problem paying my bill, never had no problem paying my bill, but the inconsistency of water bills has been a huge concern in Prairie for years. Not only that, but the other thing is that the individuals who get away with not paying their water bills, you know, there are people that we allege that said that they're behind on their water bill. There are people that have been accused of being several $1,000s behind on their water bills, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing in the community they want to come at certain people. But, you know, we got to be fair all across the board. Fair across the board. We fair across the board because this has been a pet peeve of mine for a long time, as well as the electric bill. It's a huge problem with citizens paying a lot of water bills and electric bills in this city. And that's been a huge problem. I think it's something that we need to have a committee put together and look at how serious a problem this really is. Because it's a serious problem. And for some people to get away and other people have to pay, it's not fair. And I think we need to really look at that. I think council needs to take a real serious look at what's been happening with that. And so the citizens can feel good and feel comfortable about they all being treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Vita Brown.
Good evening to the mayor and the wonderful city council members. I want to first of all thank you guys for the wonderful job you did in covering the hurricane and still dealing with some issues with that, but I think that everybody did a great job in helping out and getting everything taken care of to get us back to normal again. So I appreciate each one of you all's effort. Now let me get to what my issue is. During the hurricane, I had a lot of water that came in the house from the sewer and the roof.
You want to speak up a little bit, Dr.?
Part of the roof got blown off. And so the water came in, and one of my closets, water came in. And so I had some real nice luggage in my closet. And one of the pieces, a real big piece, I had opened it up and set it out in the sidewalk because it was wet. And the city was doing this wonderful work repairing the water pipes under the ground. And so they had torn the street up. And because my house was one of the houses on that street that got torn up, and I'm thankful that they fixed it. But my suitcase that was laying out on that, thing got run over and crushed by the backhoe. What tears up the cement?
That's a different type of equipment. They
Whatever
use a
that
backhoe and
equipment
something
is,
else.
it
Yeah.
got torn up with that. And then it got lifted up and taken away with the cement. And then somebody discovered that it was my suitcase, and they brought the torn up, beat up, I promise you I'm not lying, suitcase back in my house and put it in my driveway. So I was very concerned about that, and I don't know how the city would handle that, but I put it on my insurance claim, and hopefully they'll reimburse me for it. But in case they don't reimburse me for it, I want my suitcase. Thanks.
Commissioner Barnett.
Evening, Mayor, City Council, honoring you all, citizens of Prairie View, visitors. I'd like to read something, if I may. It'll be short, I promise you. Let me put my eyeballs on so I can see. Bad eyes coming way here. While a man was polishing his new car, his 40-year-old son picked up a stone and scratched lines on the side of the new car. In anger, the man took the child's hand and hit it many times. The father was also angry. The father was so angry, he did not realize he was using a wrench to hit his son's small, fragile hand. At the hospital, the child lost all his fingers due to multiple fractures. When the child saw his father, the painful eyes, he asked, "Daddy, when will my fingers grow back?" The man was so hurt and speechless, he went back to his car and kicked it a lot of times. Devastated by his own actions, and while sitting in front of that same brand new car, the father looked at the scratches made by his son. The child had scratched into the brand new car the words, "I love you, Daddy." Let us all remember, anger can destroy us, but love has no limits. Choose love to hate, choose love to have a beautiful life. Material things are to be used and people are to be loved. Watch your thoughts, they may become your words. Watch your words, they may become your actions. Watch your actions, they may become your habits. Watch your habits, they may become your character. And watch your character, for it will become your destiny. And let us remember, when a spider web unite, it can tie up a lion. Folks, we are in a really wonderful position right now with the city of Prairie View as far as having all our governmental entities working together. I'm talking about federal, state, county, and local. Now, the other thing on the flip side of this coin, as I observe the agenda from time to time, I see things on there, and it looked like Muhammad Ali and fighting somebody. One throws a punch, the other throws a punch, one throws an uppercut, the other one throws a right cross. We have to understand that as elected officials, and I speak to myself as well as I speak to all of you, as elected officials, we have been elected by the people, entrusted by the people, to do the right thing for the people. They can care less about how many letters or alphabets or the alphabet soup we have behind our names. They can care less about our degrees. But what they do care about is that we're doing the right thing. And we must realize that we must continue to do the right thing for the right reason. So let us work together. We've heard this for many, many years about how separatism and division messes up this city. Ladies and gentlemen, it does. We have people that don't want to do business with us because of that reason. It's time for us to get our act together, or better yet, it's time for us to stop acting and do the right thing for the right reason. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Marie Herndon? Pat Bruger? Ms. Bruger?
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I pay attention, and good evening. I have two things. One is, and if you've already done it, I apologize, but I would like to see a disaster after report of what you did, what you learned, what you're going to do better. And the second thing I would like to just have you discuss is, when are we going to live stream? When are we going to do that? If you look at Austin County, they're doing it and it's free. So you don't have to spend the $1,800 that the county's spending every month. And I will reiterate what my commissioner said, because you can ask him. When he first got elected, we got off onto a really hard start, because in my mind, when he got elected, he should have been brilliant and knew all of the answers for me. And lo and behold, he had to learn what those answers were. But he's done a good job.
Thank you.
He's responsive to the citizens, which is what all of you should strive to be. I don't expect us to always agree, but I do expect a response. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eula Bennett? Ms. Bennett?
Good evening to the mayor and council members and my fellow citizens, residents of this fine city. With homecoming almost here, I'm concerned that this year, like last year, my street, Whitechapel Road, will be congested with students and endless traffic after the game due to the outdoor party that took place down the street from my house. We were pretty much confined to our house because we could not get out of our driveways because the street, Whitechapel Road, was just inundated with traffic. Cars were parked on both sides. In fact, cars were parked everywhere. So we were actually blessed that we didn't need any emergency equipment like fire truck or an ambulance, because I doubt very seriously that either could have come in any reasonable amount of time. My concern is that this may happen again. The cars were parked everywhere in our driveways. They were, at some point, cars actually drove through my yard, people coming and going. They used the outdoors for bathrooms, There was lots of trash left. That Sunday morning, I picked up trash on both sides of the road in front of my house. I drove down 1098 going to church. There was trash everywhere on both sides of the road. And actually the traffic did not leave until after 2 a.m. in the morning. There were even a couple of cars that were left there until the next day sometime. So I don't want to go through this again. I don't want my sense of security threatened by somebody having a party. So my question is the city going to allow this kind of thing to happen again? Someone else making a profit at the expense of the safety and the security, the peace of mind of the rest of the citizens, of the people who live in that area or whatever area the party may take place. I don't think that's fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrative reports. Chief, just to share with council and the residents, there's an application for a beer and wine license at the PV grocery store. And I did a request, and they said this was something that had actually been signed some time ago. And Chief and I have been looking into it with the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. And I think, I'm not sure if they understood what we were looking at, Chief, because these people had to apply for some reason.
Right.
And I'm not sure, so I'm taking a look at going down to their regional office and seeing if I can't get at the bottom of it. But again, because it's posted in the paper and wanting to keep council apprised, wanted to share that tidbit with you to let you know that we're checking on it. But they did send a copy of a license signed by our former city secretary, Mr. Jones, in March of 2016. But because the people are applying, I don't know if it's simply a formality because of a name change or there's something else. But again, to stay on top of that, we'll make sure, because as Chief checked into it, their proximity to Hope AME Church as well as to the former H.T. Jones, which was still an active school at the time of application, and that's what we're basing it on, was within that 300 feet. But again, we'll get back with you on that. The other thing is we've been receiving a few calls, and we've got one full application for vendor permit for homecoming, and that rate, if anyone is asked, is $100 a day or $250 for the year, and that's the city ordinances. So, of course, we've been following with that. Maybe something we need to revisit later, but that's what's on the books now, so that's what we're forced to work with as people call. Also, we received an email, and I'll just share it with you, from Lisa Larson from EDA in Austin. She's the one overseeing our $1 million water sewer infrastructure grant down James Mewson over to the school. And says, Mayor, thanks for letting us know how you're doing. Was wondering how Prairie View was doing so close to Houston. Sounds like you're doing the best you can and keeping on top of things. Please take care of yourselves. You guys are all in our thoughts, and wish you much sunshine in days to come and a very speedy recovery. That's Lisa. In falling right into, well, we'll go with agenda. Financial, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening to the mayor, city council members,
Good evening.
department heads, and residents of the great city of Prairie View and friends of the area. We're in our 11th month of this fiscal period. One more month to go. If you look at your financial package on page 1, you'll see that to date, we've taken in $3,032,000 worth of revenue versus a budget of $2,864,000. That gives us a favorable variance of $167,000. Expenditures, $2,002,000 versus expenditure budget of $2,008,000, which is favorable of $611,000. And I will address that once I get to Public Works. So all in all, we're sitting in a favorable position at this time. Let's go to page 2. Page 2, currently in all our depositories, we have $2,233,000. Most of that money is the $810,000 that's sitting in the general obligation bond fund. But you can look at each fund there and see where the money is sitting. Tax department, and that's basically our fund where we have the monies that we use to fund all our activities in general administration. You have $534,000, and I will address a portion of that we have to move over to debt service in just a second. Okay, if we go over to now, go to page 3. Page 3, one of the items there on general fund is due from water and sewer, $298,000. And again, I've addressed that before. That's where over time we've used that amount of money from general fund to help pay bills in water and sewer. So we do have a strategy to try to pull that down going into the next fiscal period. You also see on there due from crime control, $37,267. That will be moved in this month of October to general fund. And then just the opposite, if you come on down to liabilities, you see due to debt service, that 217 will be moved to debt service. Some of it was moved in the month of September. The balance will be transferred over in the month of October. If we go over to now, go over to Public Works, which is page, let's go to page 11. I'll address Public Works right now because in this month of September is where we record the remaining expenses for the current period. And it's one item there, sewage and water charges. We roughly have to code about 4 months there. Again, the university is delinquent. We just got some bills in during the month. But I'm gonna have to try to get them to give me the bills through September. But I looked to code in there probably around $130,000 in the month of September. All of it won't be paid, but again, I need to book the total amount for the current period. So you should see a big spike in expenditures there. And also, we just received some bills from the contractor, and that's going to total right about $60,000 also. That we're going to have to book in the month of September. And so we'll see some large amounts hit in Public Works in the month of September. And if you look at it, in Public Works, on a year-to-date basis, you got a favorable variance there at the bottom of about $230,000, but part of that money is used to pay the debt that we pay out of Public Works, and that's for the university note that we're carrying and the tractor that we bought. Also, if you go over to page 12, the next page over, in the debt service, I did tell you last month that we did pay our current bonds in the month of September. This is here, the month of August, right here. But you will see that we show cash of $189,000 in the bank account there. And if you go to page, let's go over to 16, you'll see that under long-term debt, under the, at the bottom, at the very top where it says available to retire debt service, $175,000. So we definitely have enough funds in there to pay the estimated amount that will be due for long-term debt. And that includes not only bond payments, but any other debt payments that we need to make of $175,000. And that $175,000 is made up, if you look at liabilities, on page 16, on the current liabilities, you'll see that general obligation bond 217, $100,000, general obligation bond 207, $65,000, a 211 bond for $405,000, and then the certification of obligation bond of $10,000. That makes up the $175,000 that is due, and we paid that. So I just wanted to let you see that we are adhering to all of the fiduciary responsibilities that the city has, and that you do have to always carry enough funds in your debt service account to service any potential debt that is due for debt service. That is state law. And the last thing I want to bring to your attention, always to the last page, page 19, this is on the property taxes. I did notice that as far as the percentage of collection, and I have it notated here on this schedule here, was 91.15%. That's a high watermark for the city. In the past, 88% has been the best we've been able to do on current taxes billed. And so, the tax attorneys are not here, but again, that's a high watermark. And that's also an indicator that some of the properties that have sold have been put back on the tax roll. And that again helps your city out as far as from a property tax collection standpoint. And so we're making, that's a great improvement there. So hopefully going forward, you're not going to be 100%, or as close to it as possible. So I would say that Mayor and City Council, you all are doing a great job there, because that's steadily improved. And that's an indicator of the job that you're doing. With that, that's all I have, unless you have some questions about the report that I just presented to you.
Council? Mr. Johnson, I've got one. If you go to page 2, the Public Works Water Deposit Escrow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does that work from the now $200 deposit,
Okay.
previously of $100 or $75? When we have someone that leaves, and I'll be getting to our total balance on that, but while you're here, this is comprised of what exactly?
Okay.
I know what it says, I want to know what it means.
Okay. Your water deposits are the pluses that we deposit in that account, the new deposits. When someone leaves and we give them a refund, that refund comes from that account. So those are the minuses.
Okay.
And at the present time, the balance that you see there is the balance of deposits that we have in escrow for the water customers.
Okay, now, the city has somewhere over $250,000, 270 something to be exact, of uncollected water bills in archive. And I want to make sure I get that right, Ms. Durham. That's from people who are no longer customers, right? That report. So where are their deposits? Because they didn't receive a refund because they left on a balance. Where are their deposits here?
Okay, it's in the net. It's in the net. What conceivably has happened is, over time, like I said, those are the pluses, those are the minuses. And there might have been, I can't go back into the history, but we'd have to look at what you're looking at as far as archived. Probably some of those accounts are really not live accounts. They really should be taken off of the books.
I know, but
Right.
see, their deposit is live.
Well,
And I can't find it.
not
That's what
necessarily
I'm
so.
checking.
Not necessarily so.
Well, if they left with a $100
Yeah,
balance,
I understand
And they paid
the
a
theory.
$100
Yeah,
deposit.
the theory is saying, but as far as this account goes, that theory doesn't hold true, because you're looking at I'll say, a book number that might not be correct. But we know we have to go back and look at that receivable that you're looking at, when you're talking about archives, and some of those numbers are just not correct.
well, see, my problem becomes twofold. On one hand, we've got, and I haven't counted them, a very large number of archived former customers. They're gone. But then on the other hand, we've got, Ms. Durham, about how many current active accounts? 1,000, 1,100?
It's pretty close to 1,000, it's like
Okay,
996.
so when you look at the 1,000, which is the 200 or so has been in effect for quite a while, when I look at the number of former customers who are gone, and because they had a balance, they didn't get a deposit back. And then we look at the current accounts whose deposit should be sitting there because they're current.
Right.
That's not enough money.
Now, I understand that. Over time, that right there is a cumulative balance, and in the history of it, some of the money might not have got deposited in that particular bank account. But what's happening is that we've been constantly paying out of that bank account, and some of the deposits might not have got in there. But again, you just, I see what you're trying to do, but you just can't take that scenario and apply it to this particular account.
Theoretically speaking, if somebody pays a deposit and then they close out their account, or they go delinquent without closing out their account, isn't the deposit supposed to go to the balance that's left behind? Isn't that the purpose of the deposit?
Right.
So, have we not been doing that? Because you said, maybe I'm the only one who kind of didn't understand what you just said, but you said, you gave a lot of like half answers, like, well, it's kind of this, it's kind of not this, but I don't really know what that means, so I need.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, let me speak from in-house to answer
Yes.
Councilman Randall's question.
Mhm.
No. That's why I have a problem balancing this, because assuming all those are still there, plus all us new ones after that,
Yeah.
that should be, I don't know, 2-3 times that, but you mentioned historically,
Yeah,
there
see, that was the
may
problem.
not have been making it
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that
right,
category, so.
Exactly. See, monies weren't always properly deposited, and that's been the problem. But currently now, we do have a pretty good control of it as far as the deposits going in versus, now the payments, from what I could judge, have all primarily been made out of the account. But not all the deposits were going in that particular account. And so we've gotten a better understanding with people processing, that's where those deposits should go. And that's how it got out of whack if you go back in history. But that's where it got out of whack. In other words, to answer your question, all the deposits wasn't going to that account.
So they were being deposited, they just weren't being deposited into the escrow?
Yeah, right, exactly. They were going into the
Into the general
public works
fund,
account. No, public works.
Public works.
Right, exactly.
So it was, the money's being spent on stuff
Mhm.
that didn't pertain to the actual water bill.
And the payments though were always coming out of the escrow account.
Right.
So you have a disparity of payments coming out versus payments coming in.
Gotcha.
So we've got a better handle on it now. In other words, we're working more with the people processing
Right.
to try to assure ourselves that the processor is properly processing the money. That you put the deposits in this account, not in the public works account.
Right.
And that was the problem that was happening. And so we're working closely with, in essence, with the public works processor.
Can I
Hold on,
clarify?
Ms. Durham, because you're on there, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now.
And thank you for staying this evening
Oh,
too,
no,
I
that's
appreciate
fine.
it.
When a person pays that $275, of course, that $75 goes into an administrative account. The $200 goes into escrow. And
Yes,
so
200 goes in escrow,
Right, so
right.
every deposit that we make, I have the account number for that particular account. And so that's where that money is going,
Right.
but you say it's not there?
Well, no. I'm saying,
Okay.
we've worked it out
Oh,
with the
okay.
processor.
Okay.
Prior to you, we had some major problems,
Oh, okay.
okay? But we've corrected the problems we had. And we can pretty well assure that what's happening now is exactly the way it should look, in that the deposits are going to that particular account, and the payments are coming out of that particular account, okay? And your scenario is exactly right. As long as you have customers, your deposits should primarily equal the number of customers you got. Now, the increase went to 200, it was,
In 2013,
It was
it increased to
we
275.
doubled it, didn't we? It used to be 100.
It used to be 150.
Right. But we had some major problems years back. And so, but this account is what we call a everlasting account now, it just comes forward. And so we've been constantly trying to monitor it, and I can assure you now that if we look at it on a current basis, you do see the money's coming in and the payments coming out.
See, when you look at the money that Public Works owes general account,
Right.
my thought is, council sometime last year brought on, we were able to locate a company, a law firm who does utility collections because of the
Right.
various laws that go with that.
Right.
Okay, and Ms. Durham has been working on giving them what they need and that sort of thing. But when you look at that book of business, those people's deposits belong out of that account and into Public Works to decrease what Public Works owes general, or at least to increase Public Works asset. Let me give you an example. If you got five of those accounts, right? And let's say they all owe $100, $500. And let's hypothetically say they just all paid $100, $500, right? That $500 from this account should be transferred to help offset what they left owing.
Where you gonna
That's what
transfer
you transfer it out of there, you're not gonna give it back to them because it's left owing.
Yeah, but you'd be transferring from another Public Works account,
Right.
and so it's staying within Public Works.
Yeah, it's staying within Public Works, but it's out of that account, and now Public Works has access, whereas they can't have access to this account, because that's like a trust account.
What you're saying, that's right, we need to put more money in that trust account right now, because it does not equal, the balance in that trust account does not equal the amount of deposits we owe out.
But we're not gonna go feed that on money that was spent previously. We're not gonna do
No,
that.
I'm just saying, if you look at right now,
Yeah.
your trust account is out of balance.
Oh, definitely.
With the amount that we owe. You
No, I
see?
agree.
Right, and that's a problem.
Right.
Right, that's a problem. It's been, what we've done is we've stopped the bleeding. And as long as we don't have a run on everybody wanting to stop their water service, we're okay. But if everyone was to come here and say, I want to cut my water off, I want my deposits back, then we have to get some funds from another account to make that whole.
Well, fortunately, as long as they live within the city limits,
Yeah,
we don't have to
right,
worry
right,
about that.
exactly,
Because the
exactly,
ordinance
that's worry about that.
requires them to do it. Okay.
But yeah, that is the situation that we have.
Thanks. Now I know how we got here.
Yeah.
Anything else, Council? Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Municipal Court did theirs. Police Chief, Chief Solomon. And Chief, you asked if you could,
Yeah, we could
the
talk
last
about-
item,
Yeah,
I think was yours on the ordinance.
item 13.
And with item 13, Council, Chief asked if that could be moved up and be done while he's doing his report to keep from going back and forth.
So if you move it up,
So if you,
need a motion and a second.
Yeah, motion
to move
move
it
up, yeah.
on the agenda and then a vote.
yes,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Jones.
I move that we move item 13 up to the police report to discuss and take action to adopt an ordinance establishing no parking toll-away zones along the north and south portions of FM 1098, aka State Loop 1098, and its intersection with University Drive to its intersection with LW Minor.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we move up item 13, discuss and take action to police report at the chief's request to discuss and take action to adopt an ordinance establishing no parking / tollway zones along the north and south portions of FM 1098, aka State Loop 1098, at its intersection with University Drive to its intersection with LW Minor Street. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right? Ayes have it. Chief, you got it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, citizens. Last year, when I came here about this time last year, I went to the homecoming, went over to the homecoming, and it was probably one of the biggest messes I've ever seen. I've done a lot of coordinating of different events, and that one was really kind of messed up. So I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people complained about the parking on 1098. And it was how it was unsafe for people who were crossing from the field, and how it was just unsafe for people to come through that traffic. What we've done is we've gotten the tech stops. Tech stop, what they needed was us to have a city ordinance. The city attorney has given us that city ordinance. If council approves that city ordinance tonight, tomorrow we'll put out a press release on 1098. We'll also have it published tomorrow. And what it will say and what will happen is we're going to not allow traffic. We're going to put up signs starting from 1098 at University, going around to WL Minor, I think it is. Is that the name of the street?
Yes.
LW minor, and we'll put up no parking signs at any time, and also we'll have tollway zone signs there. I have an appointment with the record companies in this area on Thursday, and to try and get some of those guys in that area. And what's going to happen, it's not going to be a pretty thing, it's not going to be a nice thing. I talked with the university about it as well in a meeting last week. But we're going to tow those cars, and we're going to give those people citations. And we'll do either both, or we'll do one. If they make it there in time enough, if we're not there, I plan on, from that day, is trying to keep, on homecoming day, keeping 2 officers in that area. The Thursday and the Friday before that, we'll try to keep officers in that area as well. But this is going to be not a pleasant thing, but we have to do this in order to get them used to not parking on that roadway. I'm not sure about the grass area there. Is that city easement? The grass area? Anybody?
It could be, I mean, you see, I don't know.
That's county. The county maintains that.
No. That's state.
Okay, my main concern is this. My main concern is not whether it's an easement or not, but is that they're not on the shoulder of the roadway. So our plan is to be really out there on it and towing these vehicles, and also writing citations. That didn't come from us. It came from citizens. It came from citizen complaints about that road at 290. Ma'am, you were talking about the parties on Watts Chapel. We haven't filled out any permits or given anybody any permits for any parties on Watts Chapel.
What about on Richards Road?
On what?
What about on Richards Road, because they also.
We haven't given any out. Matter of fact, we've rejected at least 2 for Richards Road because of the amplification ordinance. So we've rejected at least 2 of those. You know, in the course of rejecting those, I really do think that these kids from this college, they need somewhere to have these parties at. I used to come up here to Prairie View as a young man, and all the parties were on the campus. They were on the campus. And the campus, we know what they've done. They've moved them off the campus because they don't want that liability, but they moved them into the city. And at some point, we've got to come together, because these kids are not going to stop partying. It's just it's a way of life, and it's kind of what you do when you're young, you know. So some people, we should put some efforts into doing some of those things. Yes, sir. You have a question?
Yeah, pertaining to the parking ordinance on 1098.
Yes, sir.
Since the beginning of time, probably people have been parking along this curve.
Yes, sir.
So where does that push the cars that would usually park here? Where, because my understanding with now is folks are going to be parking inside the communities and the neighborhoods.
Here's what the college is offering. They have shows, and I could stand here and tell you that's not my problem, and it wouldn't be. But also I have to look at those things, and
What's not your problem?
where these people park, because they can't park there.
Right.
But what I'm saying is this: we spoke with the college about that, because they're part of this deal about taking these people off of 1098 as well. Well, they've got shows, and you can park. They're going to have shows at the schools where you can park there. The shuttle up to the yes, sir.
Chief, yo, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
But Chief, right now we only got 1 show.
You know, when I talk to the college, I'm going by what the college said, and know this, and just know this. This is not something that we as a police department decided. This is a solution to an issue that we were faced with several times. If you guys decide not to do this tonight, that makes it easier on my guys.
Let me kind of clarify, like, my direction. You made the statement that it's not your problem, but if they're not parking here, then they're going to be parking out the Vista. They're going to be parking over on Echo Street. They're going to be parking in Watts Chapel, which ultimately is your problem and our problem. So my question isn't whether this is a good idea or not. My question is, what's the contingency plan for all of those cars that are usually parked there? What are we gonna do when they start flooding the neighborhoods and instead of them parking there, they're gonna be blocking people's homes because they're gonna be parking in the communities?
In the case of some people blocking, I know the young lady said that her driveway was blocked. If someone's blocking your driveway, then you have the right to have that vehicle towed from in front of your driveway. You know, sometimes it's like giving people tickets. You don't have to give everybody you stop a ticket, but there's some people who will not heed to the traffic unless you give them a ticket. And so, and I know you say, well, they're gonna start parking here and there. We know that, and that was one of the questions I asked when they asked us to come up with a solution for this. Is what are these people gonna do for parking? I could tell you that field that they're gonna park in, they need to have more people parking in that field. I can tell you that the college needs to build a parking lot. I can tell you that the councilman just said they only have one shuttle. They talk like they may have shuttles running all night long, and they've only got one shuttle. And that's what he's telling me. Yes, sir, Councilman Rowe.
Oh, my question was, so this proposal is a proposed solution for no cars to be double parked and no cars to be there at all?
No cars to be on the shoulder of the road. I'm not worried about them parking off to those grass areas, because you lose the vision of that roadway when the cars are parked on the concrete shoulder.
So if they're parked in the grass, they're,
I know last year what I seen was a lot of people would back in and back down in the grass,
Yeah.
but then you had those people who came and parked right in front of them on the shoulders.
Oh.
Those are the people that we're concerned about.
okay.
And that's why I asked about the easement, because those are the people that we're concerned about, are the ones who are parking right on that shoulder and making it difficult for traffic to come through and people to cross over from that field over to the game area. Yes, ma'am.
So do you know how many extra officers they're gonna be having for homecoming?
What we're gonna have out there to start with is 6. On the homecoming day, we'll have 6 guys, because we've got some other areas that we have to cover. We're gonna be shutting down University at 290. That won't be open from 8:45 to 11:45. We're gonna just close it down. The college is actually, the parade is actually coming out of the old elementary school, and it's going onto the college campus, so it won't be coming up University. We'll use the University for emergency traffic. Also, we'll stage a few, they're gonna stage a few of the parade people there, like the trail riders and things there. Should be some staging there. So that's gonna be closed until 11:45, from 8:45 to 11:45. 8 a.m., yes, sir. We will let you out, but you won't be able to come in.
Are they gonna use that field, over by the bistro as well on Owens Road? Do you know if they're gonna use that
When you
field?
say use it for,
For parking?
I'm not sure. We have another meeting. I'll find that out. I know that people, those fields belong to private property, and normally it's the people who own those properties.
It belongs to Fairview.
Oh, well, I
The
don't know.
university.
I'm talking about the other property, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. If that's that may be where they're gonna take some of this flow. It's not gonna be there. So do we understand what we're saying? It's not the people who are backing off and off the easement, it's those people who are on
If they're in the
the
grass,
shoulder.
they're fine, but they're on the street.
Yeah, if you're on the street,
Yeah, I
shoulder,
understand, okay.
and that's the issue. That's
So
the issue.
I guess my next question is, has the university reached out to either you or the mayor about how they plan to address all of the, parking issues, or are they just expecting us to kind of just go with the flow? Have they?
The university, the new police chief and I have been meeting, what he's asked them to do, because last year, one of the other issues was people would come and stop there on University, and they would collect money from those people. I spoke with them about that last year, and but once the new chief came in, he and I had a talk with them last week about that, because essentially what they're doing is breaking the law. You cannot turn a public road into a toll road. If he gets out there and starts stopping traffic and taking money, then he's breaking the law, because now he's turned the public fairway into into a toll road. And by what authority does he have to do that? The university does not have that authority. We told them that last year, and they're just now understanding it this year, that they don't have that authority. So what they're gonna do is they're coming off of Muse Road, and they're coming through the back, and then they come back through the other side, and they'll come into those parking lots from there. And from those parking lots, they should pay their tolls at each one of those parking lots. They won't pay them at each one of the parking lots because according to them, and according to A&M's system, they have to be trained in taking money, and then they have to have a police officer with them. The college chief is trying to resolve that, because if you got two parking lots, you got one here and one here, why can't one police officer watch both of those parking lots? Yes, sir.
So, no, I was gonna let you finish, but, so you said that traffic's gonna be funneled off James Muse onto Owens Road to the campus? Or you said
I don't want to
back
give you
around?
that, it's not coming all the way up to university. I can,
It's turning by the bistro
yes.
and going through the
Oh,
park.
okay, I got you, okay. So is Owens Road gonna be shut down for two-way traffic?
No, Owens Road, from the first section of Owens Road, starting at University, the city itself, we're gonna install some no parking signs there, and that's just to keep people off the side of the road. We won't go all the way down, that road. It'll be just from the first onset of that street, to just keep people from parking on the side of the roads there. Because you've got a grade coming out, and you can't have that all congested. So we're just trying to calm down some of the congestion. Like I said, I've done these things 100 times, and you're not always going to get it right the first time. There's going to be some things that we're going to see that's really wrong with what we're doing, and we'll change it. We'll look at and see how everything goes. But anything is better than what we've seen last time. Anything's better than what we've seen last time. So that's kind of where that's at. So you guys can approve or not approve the ordinance. It's up to you. Go ahead.
Chief, the other thing to share with council is, and you're right, it's TxDOT state that informed us, around that loop is no parking. It's no parking. It's always, we've always used it, as you said, for parking for years since it's been built. It wasn't always there.
TxDOT would rather use that as a no parking.
Right.
I had an extensive conversation with them. The TxDOT cannot legally enforce those laws. And so what we needed was this city ordinance, because that city ordinance gives us the enforcement of those laws, and even the tollway. That's why we had that added into the.
And a big part of that concern too was with traffic parking on both sides. It interfered with emergency vehicles, with people constantly crossing, and you got parked on the side, then somebody in the middle. Emergency personnel cannot get through there, so one side does need to be freed up.
It's a real hassle when people are trying to cross from that field over into by the stadium area there. Yes, ma'am.
What about the post office? Is that gonna be blocked off?
We're gonna talk with the post office about, because the post office, I understand, each year has told people, yeah, you can park in our parking lot, but the problem they've had was people are parking back in the back by their trucks. And so, that may,
Well, last year, the postmaster that was there didn't want them at the post office, period. She said she didn't want them parking in the front, in the back, on the side, nowhere. And that's why they had originally, she had put up some tape, and then the tape was taken down.
yeah, they took it down.
And,
I
so she
will,
said she was going to, if it happened this year, she's gonna have every car towed.
and that's, sometimes that's what you have to do. We've spoken with her about a month ago. We'll talk with her again to see what she's come up with, and we'll move forward from there. Yes, sir.
If we do come to agreements on this ordinance, could there be a possibility that you like make some kind of flyer or something like that, so that way
We're gonna have a press release. If you guys pass it, we'll have a press release in the morning. There's a press release that's already been written, and we'll have a press release to go out to all these news entities tomorrow, including any local papers. I'm not sure what everybody, does. We're gonna try and put it on we'll have it on our website as well. I'll ask if we can send it some other places where more people can see it. But there is a press release that's already ready to go.
Appreciate it.
Last thing, kind of give a toot to our police department. When we talked a couple weeks ago, we talked about putting some persons wanted, persons in the newsletter, and we did that. This past weekend, two of our officers, one of our new officers and one of our old officers, arrested a guy who's wanted in 4 counties. We're looking at him for 2 murders here in our city. And so that's where Sergeant Garrett is right now, who's questioning him about those murders. It's been good police work. The reconstruction that we're doing is kind of starting to move in the direction it needs to go. It's kind of giving him a little bit more time to concentrate on these murders and these other crimes that's been committed. So a shout out this morning, we started getting calls from other agencies wanting to know when could they get a chance to talk with him, because he's got everything from aggravated assault on aggravated assault of a child to the murders that we're looking at here. And we think he at least did 2 of the murders here and been free. But he's in the Waller County Jail and he's being questioned. And it's just a matter of good police work. 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a call and they just put him in jail. So they're on top of it.
Good word, Chief. And Ms. Johnson, Dr. Johnson's passing on Friday. Ms. Johnson spoke real highly. I wasn't sure if it was Officer Phillips or Robertson, because she said the officer had been there before, and she thinks it might have been the one where we went there 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which would have been Phillips. But
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Whoever went by there, she was very appreciative, who answered the call after her husband died at home.
I tell you, that's probably Officer Phillips, and to give Officer Phillips his props, I get these type of conversations even from other police agencies about him all the time. When I first came here and we started looking and doing the reconstruction, we talked about going outside, looking for a supervisor, looking for someone that kind of knew what we needed to do and which direction we wanted to go here. But I thank God that I've been taught also that sometimes you have to look inside for your diamond. And so looking inside, I think we've found what we needed at Officer Phillips. He's not a man that needs a bunch of supervision. He's worked out here at nights by himself. He's done a really good job.
There's
Really good
Garrett.
job.
You spoke with him, so just wanted
Yeah,
to know you was
Officer Garrett, Sergeant Garrett. So, so Sergeant Garrett just came back from questioning that suspect, and we think now that we can probably get some of the people that's kind of been on the fence of not identifying him because he wasn't in jail to maybe come, because we've got parents that we've talked to that, they've lost their kids. They've lost their kids to this violence. And one lady last week was telling us how she was going to come up here to Prairie View, and now she was going to bring the media. That's not an issue for us because we're doing what we need to do. We understand her frustration, but now I think we can, if we can just help them bring some closure to this. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
do we have, you talked earlier, do we have a process on how we, whether we do events, you talked about our noise ordinance, or if someone does an event within the city or out the city, do we have a specific checklist that you said, that someone says, here's the form, I have this, I have this, I have this insurance, it's on this property, because we want to, part of it is like we have a lot of inconsistencies.
Yes.
And so if we had a form and a person says, hey, I'm going to have this event, it's going to be 40 people at the community center, they have to go through a process and you say, okay, if you're going to have 40 people, you need to have this, this, and this, or whatever it may be. And so do we have that, or what do we need to do to get that?
I think we've brought some consistency to it, and another thing we've brought to it is not trying to bullcrap people. You can have a party at your house, I've seen tickets here for illegal parties, and I'm trying to figure out what that's for. People have a right to have parties at their house. If they're renting a place, they can have parties at those places. It doesn't become a violation until it becomes one of our city ordinance, which is the amplification ordinance.
Or the noise ordinance.
Yes, and so what happens, we've only been turning those down if it's within a certain hour, from about 10:30 to 2 in the morning, and it's in that area where you've got where you're in 100 or 200 feet from a residence, because we're gonna get calls. And so we've turned those down. I got one today, and Officer Sergeant Gary and I went and took a look at it. It doesn't look like it's going to interfere with anyone. So if it's not going to interfere with anyone, then we're gonna sign the permit. They've got their insurance, they've got all these other things, but we're not going to do one thing for one person, not for the other. And we're talking about area, and we're talking about the city ordinance. What does that city ordinance say? If the councilman don't mind, he and I had a conversation about that the other day. He came to my office and he asked me about that. And I just believe, and you know, he said, well, what if we talk to everybody on that street? Well, you can talk to everybody on that street, and this is what I told him. You can talk to everyone on that street, but that's just like asking everyone on that street, can you speed, and then have me disregard the speed limit sign. Then that's not what the law says to do. So that's not what we're going to do. And he was real gracious with that, and I appreciated that. I appreciate that, because that's what you want when you talk to your city officials, you know, because I'm already putting a denial on his deal. But like I said at first, I think we need to. I really think we need to look at this and look at how this is going, and try to compromise on what we're doing. Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate what you said, Chief, and I think it's important that these college students that want to have these parties also respect the elderly people, the people
Absolutely.
that live in those areas. And I think that's been the biggest problem, is they felt disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think anybody should be allowed to have a party like Alta Vista or on a street where you know it's elderly people or people with kids that, you know, have a certain bedtime, you know, they live the quiet life. So I don't think we should subject people because we have college students that want a party. I do agree we need to find a venue for them of some kind. But I don't want to subject our residents to they all weekend partying just because it's homecoming.
And I understand exactly what you're saying, but if someone's having a party at a house that they've leased, and they get the noise ordinance, then we're gonna go over there. We're gonna check the decimals on it and see where it's at, and we're going to advise them at that point. If we have to consistently come back, then it's at that point that we say, hey, look, this is probably going a little bit too far. But we're not going to. We need to look at everybody's rights and everybody's civil rights in there, and we can't just go from one side to the other. We need to make sure that we're doing things equally. Yes, sir.
What exactly is the decimal for the?
Do we know the decimal point here?
80.
80.
80 decibels is prima facie that it's too loud. So you only need a permit if you're going to use sound amplification equipment. So if you just want to have a party, you can have a party in the city, you don't have to get a permit. And that's sort of been, the prosecutor have been cleaning that up quite a bit, is because you don't have to just come in and get a permit. You have sound amplification equipment, you have to have a permit for that. So that is the difference that, and like the chief said about parties, that's not something I'm enforcing as the prosecutor anymore, just for a party. It's not a thing.
When someone gets a ticket, do we have a machine?
Yeah, well, that's what we.
Yeah.
And we're not having parties at the lake anymore, right?
Which lake?
That's too close to residential.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm still kind of on the parking. So I'm looking at the picture, the red line. Does that indicate that the no parking is only going to be on that side of the street,
No,
or is
sir.
it for both sides?
That's part of the deal. They forgot the other red line when they were putting it
I
on
just
there.
put
It's gonna be a red
Exhibit
line.
together.
I was gonna mention that, yeah. Just put the exhibit together. The red line, if you adopt it, you need to adopt it with this exhibit, with the red line going on both sides of the street, and a legend that says this is the approximate location.
Right, because in the ordinance it says north and south.
Correct.
So the diagram is just, whatever that is, north and south. Okay,
What's council's pleasure on item number 13?
Okay.
Councilman Jones.
I move that we adopt the ordinance establishing no parking tollway zones along the north and south portions of FM 1098, aka State Loop 1098 at intersection with University Drive to the intersection with W. Martin.
Second.
And that is also with the amendments to the exhibit, correct?
With the exhibits to the
Amendments to the exhibit.
amendments to the exhibits.
Second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt an ordinance establishing no parking / tollway zones along the north and south portions of FM 1098, aka State Loop 1098, at its intersection with University Drive to its intersection with LW Minor Street on both sides. Heard the motion, ready for the questions? All those in favor say aye. Oh, yes.
Did we say how many signs we're gonna put?
We're gonna do a total of 20 on both sides of the street.
10 on each side.
10 on each side.
Yes, sir.
Coming
Facing each
all the way down, on each side. And in those signs will have the tollway zone signs under them as well, because you can't tow a vehicle if you don't have that tollway zone sign under it.
Do you have a phone number for them to call, chief? If I come back and my car's missing, they gotta call RPD or?
No, I won't, until I get with the record drivers, Thursday's meeting, and then we'll have a phone, and we'll go back with some phone numbers. But it will be the 3 rotating records that we use here now. Won't be any outside records coming in, it'll be the 3 rotating records.
The dispatch handles our rotations too, right?
Yes.
So that's a good number, okay.
We may do this differently though, because we need records in the area. We need them in the area. And we don't need them in the area by themselves, because some people are not going to take kindly to their cars being towed. And so to save confrontation between a record driver and someone else, we should have a law enforcement officer in that area. Yes, sir.
As well, I personally get the statement that you guys are gonna put out.
Sure. Absolutely.
And one point of information was last year, even though we had those small temporary signs that people ultimately took, when it was pointed out to them there was no parking, people did move their car because they didn't want to come back and find it gone. Because it was a lot cheaper to go pay for parking somewhere else. Call for questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right? Let the record show it's unanimous.
Back on departmental reports.
Yeah, do we need to read this into the record?
Yeah.
Okay. From a public works standpoint, one of the things we're looking at is inspection and cleaning of our water towers. We did have one repaired last year, but this is a different process, so just to, again, keep you up on and keeping the superior water quality we currently have. Another thing for information, and I'll update council as we find something out. One of our residents, Michael Pritz, shared with me that there's some opportunity for a possible free TV station through Suddenlink that's in the community. And what I'm looking to do, because he's knowledgeable of that with his internet radio technology, and he knows what to talk to him about. I'm looking at doing a letter authorizing them to deal with him on gathering information and having them bring it back and then share with council how that would go. But it might be another avenue to get community events out through a television station. So I'm working with him on that. The water lines have been repaired, as Dr. Brown shared with us along University Drive. Unfortunately, when the streets were widened several years ago, the existing pipes were left where they were. And now that they're deteriorating, it costs somewhere around $27,000 to dig up, and you have to use certified folks going through TxDOT, the whole 9 yards. So working with and got some information from the engineering company, LJA, who council last year selected to do our community development block grant on the piping. I don't know, Mr. Johnson, I'll get with you, we'll take a look at the numbers and see if it's even doable. But again, just checking on options, because 6 more of those, and we paid to replace all those pipes, and we haven't replaced them, so they're continuing to crack. We did have a pre-approval conference call last week with the folks with the community development block grant. That went over really well. And again, that was a pre-approval call, so everything is well on its way, and any day now. They're just waiting for the funding to come and be approved before they write the letter, because evidently the folks who granted want to tell you first. But other than that, our public works guys, we're rapidly running through one of our home guys' trucks, so we can't get those new trucks in soon enough, because that's not something that's supposed to happen. It's happening out of necessity. And you know, so we're just working with them to do what we can. But Mr. Johnson, what's the status of those public works trucks?
We're working on it now. We're working on it now.
Okay.
We're getting bids on it, gotta get 3 bids on it.
Great.
We got
Okay.
one.
Good stuff. Other than that, from a public works standpoint, we went through and we were blessed through the Hurricane Harvey and the flooding. Our building took on a section of my ceiling, fell out on Friday. And we've got some other areas, looks like it's doing the same thing, so we're just trying to find a contractor, because of the extent and the nature of what we're doing, to have someone oversee that work and make sure that it's done right. I looked back through some of the old paperwork, and some of the leaks were coming out then, but evidently they weren't repaired like they should have been. The recovery coordination webinars with the state emergency management partners, conference calls, been doing those ever since, literally. Working with Rebuild Texas, we've got a new deadline set for FEMA requests to October 31. So we'll put that information out to the community as well. We've submitted several documents already, and I really want to thank our municipal court judge, Alexander Simmons, who has really been helping and helping make sure that paperwork goes out. The designation of subrecipient, the direct deposit authorization, the request for public assistance, and many more have already been submitted. And working with the county emergency management coordinator. Am I saying that correct, Commissioner? Brian Cantrell. He's been very helpful in copying all of us throughout the county on what was going on, even where FEMA was in Brookshire conducting assessments, and they're working their way around the county. Met with some U.S. Army Corps of Engineers guys, and they were strictly pre-FEMA. They didn't even look at the issues, they just assessed based on what we shared with them whether or not FEMA needs to come here, and they agreed that FEMA does need to come here. But again, they were just working with FEMA because of the overload. HUD conference calls with other Texas city and county officials have been taking place. Completed as recent as today a survey, a private property buyout program that is being taken a look at to see if we qualify for that. So that survey's been completed as well. And from a public works standpoint, our guys are currently working on a couple more water leaks. You know, they just pop up, but fortunately we're able to knock them out in-house, and kudos to those guys. They do one heck of a job in literally fixing them pretty much the same day or the next day that they find them. And also, several of our residents have been helpful, because sometimes as we have the program, you see something, say something. If you see something, let us know. If you see a hole and it just kind of, you're not sure about it, give us a call. I'd rather we take a look at it, find out if it's a water infiltration situation, you know, before it exacerbates and gets even bigger. So we've been getting a lot of calls in from the community, and several calls in from our student residents as well, calling in to report things. You know, as Chief said, it's, you know, those programs are working, and none of us can do the job we really like to do without the residents and constituents' help. So that is certainly appreciated. With that, any questions on Public Works?
The Rebuild Texas, do you have a dollar amount or cost, or do you have a report that council could see?
No. We've got information we've submitted to them. They've asked in some respects for guesstimates, and some were numbers. And no, we don't have a report because it was done online and it was done in their system. So by next meeting, we should be able to have something along those lines to give you some idea. Some of that came up in the survey for the potential buyout, because that's where our folks were hit the hardest in the area that continues to flood pretty much annually or semi-annually. But yeah, we're working on it and get those final numbers too as we get them.
Do we have a projected, like, you know, $1 million worth of impact, and we should have that, do we have that number?
It's actually $2.5 billion is the number we were guesstimating with the housing and some of the road work and things of that nature. Anything else from Public Works? Next. Ms. Dickey, if you would make a note to get with Fire Chief or Assistant Fire Chief and let them know if they would to submit, we'd like to get a report from them at least once a month. And that way we can just stay on top. They're out there doing some great work, and we want to stay in touch with them on that. Next we have City Council reports. Councilman Rowland.
Good evening. Citizens, pleasure to be with you again for another month, talking about some of the things that I've been involved in for the last 2 to 3 weeks. We had the opportunity, as you know, we've all had somebody, or we all were impacted by Hurricane Harvey. As you know, there's a long road to recovery, and so for that, we're still working on both trying to trying to do an after-action report for the city. So what did we learn? What are some of the things? How do we move forward? How do we prepare? Also, I was on the Isaiah Factor in September, rolling out the disaster support command center that we have on 2006 Wheeler with the Texas NAACP. With this center, we are helping connecting people with the need, and that's where information has been coming out. As you know, Waller County is one of the counties that has been identified. And so there are like 9 branches throughout the region, and we're just, again, providing support. Again, that's how we were able to connect with the 18-wheeler that came to Prairie also in the month of September. Had a conversation with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee about FEMA and some direct connection between our city. I've also contacted Congressman McCall and also reached out to the mayor on how do we set up a conference call to kind of help to see how he could make sure that we have everything we need. I went to the National Life Pre-Party that was here at City Hall, and from that, from the work we did here in the city with during Hurricane Harvey, We have a Boy Scout Troop 1906 that also participated in cleanup and some things in this community. When we had the 18-wheeler, they got recognized for the work that they did and the hours they put in, so they got received the special merit badges. As if you don't know, we have about 2 scouts who in the next 8 to 12 months should be moving to where they need to be for Eagle Scout. So they're continuously moving through the ranks and going to be presenting their projects to people in the community. So if you have, if one of them come up to you to help them with their Eagle project, please help them with that. Have participated in the TAC, Texas Association of African Chamber of Commerce conference 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, in Austin, which was the Black Business Conference. I had the opportunity to win an award from the Prairie View Chamber of Commerce for supporting black businesses, but also had the opportunity to present on a panel about the rebuild and recovery with the Small Business Development Center, the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, FEMA, and something called TDEMS. TDEMS is the Texas Department of Emergency Management, who's actually handling all these things with Hurricane Harvey. Chancellor Sharp is the Chancellor for Texas A&M System. He's also currently the Commissioner for the rebuild, because the A&M system has different support organizations under their umbrella. With that, we had the opportunity to not only just moderate that panel, but I had the opportunity to talk one-on-one with the people who are coordinating these efforts statewide. Well, so when we talk about the city buyout in the communities, that the 40 acres that represent Ruby Street and East Amaryllis, we actually have a site plan and a plan to be able, because we don't get immediate CBDG funds, we'd have to go through what is called the GLO, General Land Office. And so I've put in I sent an email to the representative, whose name is Heather, to be able to set up a meeting. I don't know of anyone in Waller County who has did a buyout through the GLO. And so directly trying to coordinate through the mayor, which I've sent the mayor the emails and the information. I had the opportunity, along with Councilman Jones, to go on a ride along with, in that area with the, someone from the Prairie View A&M University's Ag Department on how do we now prepare what the documents needed, which is a site plan, how much does it cost, and all, going through the actual process. And so that is moving. We also met some citizens, but that's moving pretty, that is moving along. We're going to be hosting a town hall to get that community to come out and help us in the plan. One of the questions in the redevelopment is it's going to be hard for FEMA to buy out 1 or 2 people. Individually, you can do that. But the goal would be for us to get that 40-acre, 60-acre area into a green space area where no one would get flooded. But when we were over there, we ran into some people who may not want to sell. So we want to host town hall meetings with the mayor and council and just have a conversation of what do we want that green space to look like? Do we want it to look like Bear Creek? Do we want a retention pond? Do we want a mountain track? To where when it rains, it just rains and you don't go over there, and when it's done, you can go have your parties and picnics and all the other things that we've been talking about. So working on that, hopefully the citizens come out once we put that out. I also have a Hurricane Harvey, had people donate shirts. You'll see the flyers. If you know of anyone who, it was for males. So we have males dress shirts who's impacted, both whether they be students or people who are in the working professional field. We have dress shirts for free for them, and so please get with me so I could help facilitate that. Also participated in the Texas Black City Council members meeting this last TML. TML just ended for us, which is Texas Municipal League. I had the opportunity to be elected by my peers. Mayor David Allen is a member. I think Ms. Marie Herndon used to be the president of the organization, and I was the elected treasurer. And so again, it's good to be back on serving our community in a statewide capacity. This organization, we raised $60,000 last year in a golf tournament to support young students to go to school. And that's what we are. We're helping to work in our community. We had several of those students who came to Prairie View, and we'll definitely, if you know of anybody who wants to fill out the application or get it, please let me know, because you do need a letter of recommendation. Again, thank you. It's always a pleasure to serve.
Councilman Ram.
No report at this time.
Councilman Jones.
No report. I just want to say it was a joy for me to get out and see different parts of the city, as you said. I'm always humbled to serve.
Councilman Williams?
I just want to say it was nice, kudos to Chief Solomon and Sergeant Garrett and Ms. Tisdale. They did an awesome thing getting the National Night together. It was really nice. The kids really enjoyed themselves. It was the best one so far. So congratulations, Chief Solomon, on that. And also, I had a wonderful time yesterday at Jones Elementary dedication. It was a packed house of people. I was also impressed that the school board recognized every city council member that's on the council for the city of Prairie View. The mayor also was on program to speak. And if you've ever wondered if our kids are learning at Jones, if you'd have been there yesterday, you know that they are. They have a phenomenal choir and a fantastic step team. I was like, okay, so they've been going to PV. They did a phenomenal job with stepping and singing, and I mean, they just did an awesome job. And I can see that Jones is doing some things that are different than I've seen at Holloman and the other schools in Wallace. So if you get a chance, sign up to go by and read a book, or sign up to volunteer at Jones, because they're doing some things at Jones.
Councilman Barnett?
No.
Just touching on a couple on Chief, the police department sponsoring the pre-national night out. The community is still talking about it. So, you know, you and your team just did an incredible job, and it was really nice supporting that.
It was a city effort. We also had Judge Jackson, the fire chief, assistant fire chief, Sergeant Garrett, Ms. Tisdale. Because without those people, like I said, I think I said once before, you know, they know the dynamics of the city. Right. It's just something I wanted to kind of do, but they knew the dynamics, and they put it all together. So those are the people that really, you know, it was just thought.
Yeah, definitely a great job.
Yeah.
I mentioned the $350,000 pre-award call that took place. Ms. Dickey sat in on that with me. The new water pipe repair method without digging. That's something, me and our public works guys met with those people out of Houston, and we're excited about the possibilities. But it's more sewer pipe. We had water leaks, and they repair sewer pipes. But they have some innovative piping that lasts a lot longer, works better. Our guys loved it. They'd actually tried it before. So something good still came out of that. The Flood Prevention and Control Committee, we visited the Ruby Street area with a lot of our local retired engineers that sit on that. They come up with some incredible ideas, and we're meeting again to continue to further that effort, taking a look at the ditches. Some people say, you know, do the ditches. Well, the engineers said, no, you don't need to do the ditches till you know where the water's going to go. So, you know, it's just a different dynamic dealing with those gentlemen and ladies, and certainly appreciate them. Met with the president of the Prairie View Trail Riders. This is their 60th anniversary. If you're not familiar with them, I would encourage you to just do a Google search, because they represent and have represented the city of Prairie View incredibly for a very long time. And one of Houston's premier publications 5 or 6 months ago did an article on them. And it was interesting. It started off with 4 or 5 of them rode into Houston, and it said in the article they were not welcome. So you know you got a reporter who was talking the truth, and then they went into the historical component. But working with them to put something together. As soon as homecoming, they're looking at trying to park where they parked before, right back behind where the old Frenchies was. So looking at them doing that for homecoming. The 60th anniversary of Vietnam is coming up, and the class of 1967 through Army ROTC of Prairie View, some 30 some odd Vietnam veterans, they're going to be meeting here on October 27th at 2 p.m. in the All Faith Chapel. The wife's a veteran. I was in there, but my dad got wounded in Vietnam and disabled. My brother also got the Purple Heart in Vietnam, so Vietnam's a little sensitive with some of us, especially considering all of those generally young men came home and literally got spit on. They were not welcome. There were no parades and that sort of thing. So that's what this thing is kicking off with. So just a pleasure to work with. And one of the coordinators happens to be one of my former professors of military science, the McGowan. So just, again, excited to work with them. City Hall, as you can see, is currently being utilized. The state of Texas contacted me and we met and talked, and then they looked around the county. They needed to do something in Waller County, and because they were looking at 7 consecutive days, literally from 7 a.m. to a minimum of 7 p.m. because they close the doors, but if somebody's in line, they service them. And I know we had several people who were in need of those services and others in the surrounding area. So there were a few things we had to shuttle, reorganize, and but we just needed to make it work. They've served as much as 405 people in a day in our facility. And this is a public facility, so if it can't serve the public, then you know what good is it? So it's been a pleasure working with them, but seeing them run so many people through there with their large team. The team is from all over. Some of them are from out of Texas. So if they were willing to, you know, as a state, do what they needed to do to service the people, then I think what we're doing is a minor inconvenience to make that available for them. So that's been a blessing. Met with and discussed with a couple of engineering types a potential sewer treatment plant study. Our Economic Development Corporation has expressed an interest in funding such a study. We've had at least one engineering company come before the council because the sewer treatment situation, relationship between the city and the university is just not working. And it just continues to add up. So as an option while working with them, certainly looking at something that can get us out from under that umbrella before we really drown. The James Muse Parkway project, that $1 million project is underway. All of the final documents are into Austin, and we're almost ready to get it ready to submit the request for proposals, put the bids out, and really break some dirt and get going on that. And that's going to be from Business 290 all the way down James Muse, and then break over Owens Road to the new H.T. Jones Elementary. Thank God that Jones is working well, but we had some real problems initially. Thanks to our utility guys, we were able to work them out and you know, add some things to control when there was a problem, being able to shut it down. We added valves. I know a lot more about that stuff than I need to, but it's been a pleasure working with them, and the superintendent was very appreciative of that. As Councilwoman Williams mentioned, he spoke highly of that yesterday, as well as yourself, Chief. He appreciates what you've done with the traffic control along the road and things. But I must tell you, he did think that with the rate that some of the folks are still flying down there, that you know, my stop sign, speed bump thing just might come in handy. So we'll monitor that. And I told his guy, his operational guy who had met and worked with you, I told him keep us apprised of what's going on. And
we put people in that area every day.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I hadn't written a ticket in 12 years. I wrote 4 there last week. So it's just a matter of people getting used to that yellow sign, because I've gone past the excuse of, oh, I didn't see those yellow lights. And so, but we're working on it. We're working on it.
Okay, great. As Councilman Rowland said, and I want to commend him, because this FEMA thing, even though we went through it last year, Hurricane Harvey is rapidly approaching the largest disaster this country has ever faced, and it's not over. they're still adding zeros to the devastation. And even in Houston, last week, there was still so many people misplaced in the hotels and other places. So that type of thing is a real problem. The Texas Municipal League President, Mary Dennis, appointed me to the Resolutions Committee, and I met with them last week, and we proposed a few things, and they're going forward on behalf of looking after cities and our interests and our local control that our governor and lieutenant governor have some design on taking away from us. I met with Attorney Richard Hill with the Linebarger Law Firm, and this further discussed our public works situation that's somewhere around $270,000 in the delinquent accounts, and we hope that those collections will start soon, and they're excited about partnering with the city on that project, and we're certainly excited about having them to go after those where, as Mr. Johnson said, we're tightening up what we do now and to stop that bleeding, but we're going to go after some of that excess as well. Item number 9. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, before we start the agenda items,
Yes.
I have an issue that needs to be addressed because how are we supposed to make decisions on the agenda items when we didn't receive backup information on the items before we just got it today? So how are we supposed to make a decision on and address it?
Which item are you speaking to?
Any of them that require decision, because we didn't, the packets they weren't delivered, so we didn't get any backup information on the agenda items.
Well, I'd admit, as I spoke with Ms. Dickey earlier, there was a confusion with us coming back from TML and what Ms. Cortez used to do and with Ms. Dickey transitioning into that role. So that's what actually happened. It was only when I spoke with Councilwoman Williams over the weekend that I realized that the packets had not gone out.
Yeah,
But if there's something that we go to that we're not ready to take action on, we can simply table it, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, but even though everybody was away, city business still needs to be conducted adequately. And all they had to do was just email us the documentation that came along with the agenda item.
Sometimes that information doesn't get to us till Monday.
Till Monday. Okay, but if the meeting is on Monday, then it's too late for the council members to review it and go over it, so.
I hear what you're
that's lack of
saying, and I don't want to cut you off, but we don't have can you speak to it about a specific agenda item so that we can, because we're kind of
That
going off.
any of them that requires to make a decision on, like the economic 4B. We have no background information on them. We didn't get it until today. So how are we gonna make a decision on them?
Well, on those 2 items, you've received that information since May.
Okay, but that was in May.
Let me finish, Councilwoman.
Okay.
Let me stop, if I can just, why don't we wait till we get to those items, because we're not there yet, and I want to make sure we stick to the agenda.
Okay, well, item 9 is a mute item, so we're at item 10, which is one of those issues.
Well, we
Councilwoman
haven't
speaks to.
voted on item 9 yet.
Yeah.
We're on item 9.
We still have to take action on that.
Correct.
Mayor, can I say something?
Hold on.
What? I can't-
Item 9, to ratify a city council meeting that we're halfway through? What are you talking about?
Yeah, we have to take action to ratify
To ratify what?
the time, that you switched your time from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
We can't just change the time.
The meeting that
You're
we
in right
already
now.
started at 7?
Yes, it's a ratification, which
So
means
you
you
just-
go back and ratify that you're starting at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You ratify what you've already done?
Yes.
Okay. What's council's pleasure on item 9?
When, I got a question, when was we gonna be, like, I understand that, from 7 to 7, that things have been taking place inside of City Hall, but when was City Council gonna be informed that our meeting was moved back to 7?
Exactly.
Like, we wasn't,
I didn't know about it.
Realistically, if we didn't hear the robocall, I wouldn't have known the meeting was.
Well, I didn't get a robocall. I had to look at the agenda today and find out that it was changed to 7 o'clock, so that's like communications again. And this, I mean, we ought to be sick and tired of not communicating with each other. That makes us look bad, because we don't even know what's going on in the city.
Well, Councilwoman, if you're not getting robocalls, you're right, as a council person, that is a problem,
But I
because
shouldn't
that's
be
how we
getting-
disseminate information, period.
But I shouldn't be getting a
that's how we
robocall, I should
disseminate
got an
information to the
email or a
public.
phone call.
We should be getting information differently as
Yes.
we should receive an email.
Exactly.
We should receive an email or a phone call or something.
Yeah, exactly. Not, and then not at the last minute either.
Okay, that's mine, I'll take it.
With that, could we, I mean, kinda on this, but the,
Process. As you know, it's a 3-inch thick notebook, so I'm not gonna go through the whole notebook tonight. The attorney chose the beginning of the notebook, because that's where the problems are right now. And so if we can get that right, I think we'll help clear up a lot of things. The first thing we want to talk about is the application. And you know there's more than one application. And the young ladies in the office have been doing a great job of trying to figure this thing out and calling, asking questions, and doing everything that they can to try to give the applicants the direct application. And we need to take a look at this, either reduce the number of applications, just use one application. We need to change the order.
we haven't updated, I think the last time we updated the planning and zoning map has been some time.
And that needs
It
to
was
be
the
done.
color map that everybody saw that had, it's a picture of it in next door, but you know, part of this is,
And part of Wise Chapel's not even on there.
And I don't know what he handed out to you, but I did do you have a handout that the top of it says planning and zoning presentation to council? Do you have that?
no,
Yeah, this one?
this,
Yes, presentations and
So
so.
I have on there item number 5, C, which is the city zoning map needs to be updated. That
Well,
has,
you know what?
that needs to.
I know it's getting late, because it's 10 o'clock at night. So maybe we need to have a workshop on this so that we can all have a good understanding of this, because this is gonna go on and on and on, and we're not gonna get nothing settled. And
do we have to put money,
money.
update the map? Is that something that would be planning and zoning, or is that the engineers?
That's something that's on the agenda we need to address. And that is, there are fees that should be paid for the application. We don't know, or we don't have any directions of what the fees are, who is supposed to collect those. We have never collected fees in the past. I've spoken to other cities, and they say the reason for the fees is to pay for the publicity that's needed in the newspaper and things like that. But if we need to address that issue, I don't know who should address that.
And I think if the mayor is so inclined, we can make a motion to go into executive session to talk briefly about legal issues dealing with the planning and zoning commission. There's a motion and a second, council.
Sure. Just before we do that, it's come up, and I've been asked previously about this Richards Road issue. And if you look on page 2 of the January 22nd, 2013 City Council minutes, it states, quote, "Discuss and take action on Planning and Zoning Commission considering a zoning map amendment change from agriculture residential to manufactured housing tracts 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and 84 Whitechapel Road, Prairie View, Texas. Motion to approve. Planning and Zoning Commission considering the zoning map amendment change was made by Councilmember Harrison, second by Councilmember Queen. It was a 4-member unanimous vote. So I know it's come up before about that area, and I just kind of want to make sure we, at least per the minutes, put that to rest. That entire side of Whitechapel at least for these
Where is it?
5 or 6 tracks.
Where are these tracks?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starting with where Darlene Clark is and going west from there.
Okay, but-
That's these tracks.
Okay, but Dr.
This-
Brown, because can you explain, because you said something totally different.
Okay,
Can you explain that?
I cannot speak for anybody else other than representing the Planning and Zoning Committee. All members that I've spoken to, they don't have any recollection of this. The only thing that we did is when Darlene wanted to move a trailer to her original family land, which was, we had a clause that said, for large farmland, that they had an exception, and that they could put a trailer on there because it's not next to anybody's home. They have enough space. Okay. Now, when she had a problem, it was a hardship problem. And she wanted to put a trailer on her family land that was a farm. And we approved it.
Right.
And that's the only thing.
That's the only one.
That's the only thing
one.
that I have any
Doc-
recollection of.
Okay, so.
And also, every member of the council that I've spoken to tell me the same thing. Now, when this was done, and I can't recall ever missing a meeting, so I don't know when this was done. I can, if all of these people say they voted on it, I guess they did, but I don't have any recollection.
Well, what we're looking at, Mr. Brown, is, as you say, the Planning and Zoning Commission wanted to accommodate Darlene Clark's hardship.
Yeah,
Problem is, you can't spot zone, you can't pick one piece of property, you have to deal with the whole zoning. And that's what planning and zoning is supposed to be doing. So when they did hers, it allowed for the second one, which has been there for at least a couple of years, and not one time.
Nobody ever
has
put in the
anyone-
application, and nobody approved that.
Well, I wasn't here then, but I saw hers and the one next to it go up, and based on these minutes, the third one was approved to go next to it.
But let me say this, if we're going into executive session, or whatever it is, we need to address a person that is supposed to be a person to go out and check and let people know that they have done something wrong and they need to move, do something that they just can't move in and say, okay, I have a trailer here and I've been living here for 3 or 4 years and nobody said anything about it. So I don't know if there's a grandfather clause or not, but I just have a problem going out into one of these neighborhoods and say, okay, there's 20 manufactured homes or mobile homes and we need to tell all of them to move. Somebody should stop them right from the beginning to say, you need to go through the process before you move in. And if they did not legally move in, then what are you going to do?
I have a question.
Yes, Councilman Rowland.
On these tracks 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, if y'all see that I was absent during this meeting, so I didn't vote on this. But
Yes.
was it the understanding that each lot is not are these, it says tracks, but should they mean lots? Because
It's never been subdivided in my opinion.
Because that's a large, well, the reason why I'm asking is because that means it's a large piece of land. And I thought I was under the impression, well, I heard that some of, the first one, we knew about the hardship. I'm not sure how the second one, or if that was part of the same family,
No, it's not.
how that got there. Now, does it matter? I don't necessarily know if we give a hardship for those 5 lots, did the person own all 5 lots, or did we just change the zoning, what did we say we did? Because
Change the zoning on those, I don't know what those tracts, that is a very odd reference to just tracts of land. It's, you usually have a legal description of what you're changing. That goes before the planning commission, it goes before council, then it's changed on the map if it meets all the requirements. I don't know where track 79 is. I don't, if there's a map that has that on there, maybe that could be helpful to the city to know, but I don't know back from 2013 what they were looking at, and no one on this council, except for you, but you're absent that day, was